In terms of the taxes they resisted, they produced a little leaflet, the ABC of tax resistance, to explain to you what you could resist and how you could do it. They didn't resist local taxes. Women did have the vote at the municipal and parochial level, but they did resist what they called the imperial taxes. So these are the income tax, inhabited house duty, lots of different licenses, and also land taxes, and then subsequently national insurance when it came in, and potentially death duties. Licenses were quite a common tax for the ladies to resist, particularly the married members of the group, and that will become apparent later. This is Princess Sophia Duleep Singh. She's the daughter of the last Sikh Maharaja of the Sikh Empire, and she lived in the grace and favour apartment of Queen Victoria in Hampden Court. She resisted in 1911 her dog licences. She had 5 dogs. She did her carriage licence, her servant licence, and you also needed a licence for armorial bearings. And in 1911, she came to the League to ask them for advice as to who should represent her. Because if you resisted licences, the first step was that you were taken to a police court. You were then fined, you then resisted your fine, and after that, they would come and distrain your goods. So at the end of a number of months where she'd gone before the police court and been represented by someone as advised by the League, she had a 7-stone diamond ring distrained and then auctioned in order to pay her tax. And that isn't quite as traumatic as it sounds, because quite often at these auctions, goods would be bought back in. So supporters of the League would buy your goods back in for you. So the distraint was this is what I call the political theatre of the League. So this is Dr. Grace Cadell in Edinburgh with her some sort of bureau that has been distrained and taken from her house and down to the auction room. And as you can see, there's quite a gather of people looking around to see what was happening. Because again, these would be respectable women suddenly finding their goods in the debtors' courts being auctioned at down at the local auction. And what they used to do to try and raise the profile of these auctions is they'd print out handbills in advance, they'd put adverts for the auctions in the local papers, and they'd try and get the item early on in the auction so that the auctioneer could speak. Let one of them speak, and the League speakers would come up, and so Margaret Keane Parkes would quite happily travel up to Scotland and she'd come and speak at your auction to explain why you were resisting your taxes. And that way they reached a completely different audience of people who wouldn't otherwise be attending a suffrage event. There were costs to having your goods distrained, which would be added on and again recovered from the cost of what was taken. And the League used to recommend that you had silver plate or jewellery taken, because at least that way you didn't have to pay the cost of the carriage on top. The other things that were distrained, there was a cow that was distrained, which then promptly escaped twice. There was a lady in Arbroath had a Rembrandt distrained, and carriages were distrained, and again quite a lot of interesting furniture, but again very commonly silver spoons were another easy to distrain item.